evening, our viewer. Thank you so much for always tuning in and keeping it here at PrayerCaveTV. My name is Maureen Boyani, and welcome to your favorite spot, the Youth Nation. What tunasema, this is a place we come and discuss issues that are affecting the young people. Tunatry to see how do we navigate through these issues, what solutions are available so that we can help our young people. And thank you so much that you're always blessed and your life getting transformed with the various topics that we have and discuss around here. And today we are having a very good conversation. I know we have discussed part of it last time, and now this episode we want to dive more and understand what exactly do we mean when you say what is effective communication, what is the importance of having an effective communication, and what are the challenges, why are we not having it as it should. And today on studio we have our guest back in studio. Karibu sana. Even before we continue, kindly introduce yourself to our viewers tonight.
Okay, well, my name is Joseph Kuria. I am a 19-year-old student at the University of Nairobi, pursuing journalism and mass communication. Also, I'm a public speaker with a vision of impacting the world positively through offering divine workable solution to the daily life issues. Above all, I'm also a communication strategist. I train people in communication. Also, I'm an academic strategist with my academic programs running in several schools, around 4 schools. That is, and both of them happen to be, that is secondary schools, where I help the students strategize and achieve their potential in their academics. But above all, my highest qualification is being a child of God and a son of the kingdom. So that is Joseph in simple words.
Hey, did you just hear that? Simple words, but that is so beautiful. Good to know you in that area, and great that you're a communication strategist, and that is what you want to demystify. What is the importance of effective communication? We know we do communicate. Now we say communication is laying out of information through a channel, of course, but we say that there should be an understanding from both parties. Like whatever I'm supposed to tell you, you're supposed to understand for it to be effective. Is that right, Ora?
Sure, that's very true.
Exactly. So we just want to understand more about effective communication. Why is it important?
Well, to begin with, to understand, because there is a great disparity between communication and effective communication. Effective communication is where you relay information to an audience and it is received with clarity and purpose.
Great.
And maybe to understand it better, it is essential to look at the stages of effective communication. There are 5 diverse stages of effective communication. And the first one is conceptualizing the idea. Anytime before you communicate, you must realize the need of what you want to communicate. That is conceptualizing the idea. And it is too unfortunate that most people, they just speak out without conceptualizing on what they want to speak. And in Proverbs, the Bible talks against haste, taking haste in all you are doing or in whatever you are saying. That is the aspect of conceptualizing the idea. Why do I have to speak? What are the consequences of I speaking? What will emerge? What will the person whom I'm speaking to feel when I say this? So that is the first level of communication, the first stage of communication. And this is two-way. It could either be active or proactive. Active is where, for instance, you speak to me, I want to respond. So my conceptualization of that idea is as a result of responding to what you are saying. Then there is proactive. That is where now you decide to initiate the conversation. So I believe effective communication begins at this level. If before speaking, do you know there are nations that are fighting today because a leader somewhere failed to think, to conceptualize on what he wants to say, and it led to clashing between the two nations and eventually deaths of many people. So communication, the conceptualization of the idea is important. Now the second level is encoding.
Even before we go to the second level, do you think we conceptualize, is it something that happens randomly or it's something we're supposed to do intentionally?
I believe it should be intentional. You know, we could be hanging out as friends and we are talking randomly. For in such a case, it's also essential to conceptualize, because It doesn't have even to take long.
Yeah.
It is something you first think, oh, so this is what this guy is saying. And in fact, even as you're speaking to me, at the moment I'm conceptualizing, I'm thinking, okay, so this is what you say. And the moment I understand what you say, that's where now effective listening comes in. I understand what you say. I'll definitely conceptualize in the right manner. I'll not just speak out. Yeah, so it is something that we must be intentional about, because intentionality is the beginning of everything.
Awesome. Now we can proceed to the next.
Yeah, so the second level is encoding. Encoding is where now you've conceptualized the idea. Why do I have to communicate? Now you put that idea into words. This is where now you choose the diction. This is the choice of words. For instance, if I'm speaking to a small child, I'll choose words that are understandable to the child. I cannot begin using huge words which the child cannot interpret. Also, if maybe as a young person, I'm communicating to a person from another generation. For instance, let me take Generation X. These are the people who are 50 years and above. If I'm speaking to such an individual, I cannot use slang or informal language.
It's true.
Yeah, this person will not understand. So I have to, this is where now you choose the diction. How am I going to respond? If I'm speaking to maybe vijana wako kwa base, I cannot begin speaking to them in English. They'll just dismiss me. So I have to speak a language that they can understand. That is now ahead and which they can relate in. Now that is the second level where you encode. You choose, you decide the choice of words to use and also the length of what you are to say. And now comes the third thing. After encoding, that's where now transmission happens. Now after you transmit, now that as a sender, that's over with you. Now you get now to the receiver. Now the receiver, what happens? There is decoding. I don't know if you can remember, sometimes back around 2016, there was a ton of things when there was introduction of the decoders, where now you could not watch programs directly from the screen. Now you had to purchase a decoder. And the purpose of the decoder was to decode, or rather was to, you know, capture the waves, the TV waves, and later on now project it via the screen. So the screen could only project what is coming from the decoder. So in the same way, as a receiver, you are now like that decoder. You receive what the sender is giving out. So what you receive is what now you will project out and will reflect whether the communication was effective. Now in decoding, there are three different things that can happen. Now this is the level where I've already communicated. Now you've decoded it. You've received the information. So the first thing that can happen, you can either receive or fail to receive the information. Secondly, you can either understand or misunderstand what I'm saying.
Now in the decoding level.
Yeah, in the decoding level. And finally, you can either interpret or you can appreciate or fail to appreciate what I'm saying. And these three things, they form the basis of effective communication. If the message is understood, if it is appreciated, and if it is received, then it means the communication is effective. And now this brings us to the last level, which now is the feedback, the feedback that you give. So the feedback that the person will give is what now will determine whether he or she understood what was said. So basically, if we understand that structure and put it into action, it is what effective communication is all about. Yeah.
Great. So you mentioned about the 4 stages of effective communication. We've talked from conceptualizing. So it is for you to figure out the kind of information that you want to pass out. Then there's the process of encoding. Then we go to decoding. Before we get now to feedback, is there a possibility that there was a breaking down of the communication, that by the time the person is decoding, anapata totally a different thing, and that means the kind of feedback they're going to give, definitely it will tell that this person did not get the right information, like the way it was first given out. So what happens that there's a breakdown of communication between the encoding and the decoding process?
Okay, it's very possible to have a case where you communicated, then the receiver never received it as intended. He decoded it in another different way. And there are barriers of communication, which I believe they are the alteration between the two. And one of them you can find, maybe someone has his or her own emotions. So, and sometimes also there's a way in which we always want to to hear what we want and not what is said.
Yeah, it is true.
So you'll find a person decoding what he wants to hear. So the person was speaking intended to pass a certain message.
Absolutely.
But you receive something different which is in relation to what you want to hear. That's why at times we advise, when in communication, don't listen to speak, listen to understand.
But that's what we do most of the time.
Many times we
because
do that.
when you speak, I'm already having what I'm going to tell you by the time you finish it. Yeah.
And that becomes a great barrier, because if someone is waiting to speak, it means, number one, the person has not received what I want to convey. And in fact, even in mentorship, it is one of the barriers of mentorship, because young people are subjected under mentorship, but you cannot listen to your mentor. So before your mentor finishes this, you are already introduced this. And sometimes the mentor may not show out physically that I'm annoyed by, but inside of the mentor, he feels that this person is not ready to learn, and he dismisses you. So it is always good to listen, understand what the person says, that is now conceptualized, then now you speak out. So the great misunderstanding comes in because people want to speak without even understanding, or rather they have their own emotions, so they interpret based on what they are feeling rather than what is there.
But nowadays you see people communicate alafu wanakwambia don't take it personal, usieke feelings. So where is the place of our feelings in communication? Because I think we still communicate by how we feel. Is it right?
So you see what happens, many people, there's a sense of pride. Have you ever seen maybe when you do something and someone gives you accolades, there's that good feeling, maybe you can stand, congratulations, you've done this, there's that good feeling that comes in. So there's that place of pride in people, and pride is one of the things that hinders learning. Because what is this person telling me? I know everything. So when people, in most cases, they are being directed, they are being told something they don't want to hear, because there is that sense of pride. You are crushing their pride. As whom are you guiding me? So you'll realize when someone says usi take personally ama nini, this person is now trying, number one, to remove the effects of the pride. There's that pride that is in man. Ile yenye una feel umse atahisi vibaya nikiweza mshow hivi, and it is the reality. It is the bitter truth. And not unless we accept that bitter truth, we will not move ahead. So sometimes it is pride that hinders also that getting the information in the right way. Because sometimes I'll also fear telling you something. It's a reality, but I fear telling you the reality, because I'm like, utaichukuliaje, utaona ni kama nakubeba hivi na hivi, of which sasa nakudanganya, and it will not help at all.
Right. So that's where we say that it's important to give good feedback and honest feedback.
Yeah, sure.
Wow. So maybe because you've been in this field of strategy, communication, and all that, maybe you can tell us the instance that effective communication has set you up or given you an opportunity just because you're able to effectively communicate.
Yeah, for sure I can say almost everything that or anything good that has come to me, it is out of the effective, apart from discernment, there's that effective, the role that effective communication that has played in between. And also there are opportunities I've missed out simply because I could not communicate effectively. Maybe let me take you back to when I was in high school. I was serving in the Christian Union. And I was serving as a project manager as well as the evangelism leader. So it so happened that as soon as I was elected as the project manager, my work was to do projects for the Christian Union. So initially they used to do projects and they would raise the highest amount they would raise, maybe 5,000, at most 10,000, and it has taken almost the whole year in which you've served as the project manager. So when I got to that position, I made a difference using communication. So what I used to do, initially they used to take it as a CU project, but when I took up the project, I began going from class to class, and I would make these people understand this is not a Christian Union project, this is our project. So I'll tell them, imagine in 10 years time you come here, you find this pulpit, you find this drum set, you find this microphone, and you know very well you took part in buying it. How does it feel?
You help them to own the idea.
They own and it is through communication. So I would speak to them and make them, most people, they use the language of I, but now I changed it to we.
Awesome.
That is now effective communication. And can you imagine out of the 5,000, 10,000 they used to raise, I was able to do within a year a project of more than 200,000.
What?
We were able to buy a camera, a good one. We were able to buy appliances, things like we bought a drum set, we bought a pulpit, we bought microphone. We did a lot of things, and it was within a short span.
Out of communication. Great.
And it was shocking that even the people who never came to church, those who used to criticize Christian Union, they were among the people who were giving the highest amount. In fact, I can recall very well, it is a Form 3 class that gave the highest amount of contribution, around 40,000.
Wow.
And you understand Form 3s, they are the kind of people who it's hard to deal with.
It is true.
Yeah, but through communication, I had convinced them to an extent that they were like, we must give this. There are times I would walk in the field and then you see a Form 1 running to you, a Form 2, and ask you, Joseph, by the way, did you manage to hit the target? And I'm like, not yet. The person removes money. You're in the field, you are doing your exercises, he gives you. And I believe it is the role that communication had, the effective communication had in that moment. So I can say communication in a major way, it has helped me in a lot of things. And maybe now let me give you the negative side of it.
Where did it flop?
So there's a time in school, I remember I was serving as a leader also. So there's one of the prefects, he was my prefect. He came and reported to me. There are some Form 2s, one of them being a class prefect, who have messed up with me. I'm telling them to do this and they cannot do this. So this was a Form 3 prefect. And at that time, prefects, they were being trolled. They were not respected.
True.
So I say to myself, my prefects are not being respected. I have to take action. So I went to the guys, I called them. They tried speaking to me. I could not listen. Now you see, this is not effective communication. I only listen to one side of the story because this guy is my friend, and number 2 is a person I think this is a good person. He cannot be saying the lies. And also because of my own feelings, I was feeling like prefects are being disrespected. So I never listened to the story of the other guy. So I made a decision because he was a class prefect and he had a team. I gave them punishment and also I demoted him. So later on, around 1 month later, another case is being brought.
Same case.
Yeah, with the same prefect now. Now with a different team. So I decided, let me listen to what these guys have to say. Maybe this time let me not be quick to... And these guys, they spoke to me and I realized this other guy, in as much as he was good and he had a genuine heart in handling, he did not have the leadership skills. So he used to like, this... So people would see that, but personally could only see the good side of it. So later on, by the time I realized that even the first guy I did, but because that guy to some extent he got into stress because he was like, I've been used to be a prefect, I've been demoted, it is shameful. But later on I talked to him and he got well, and at least from that time I learned a lot. I learned that it is good, in as much as you are supporting a certain person or you are a friend to a person, first listen, what does this person has to say? Then now you can make judgment without any bias. So those are the 2 instances among many others. And actually, maybe let me give you the last instance. The other day I was interacting with a first year with is my fellow in the University of Nairobi, and she was telling me that she has an opportunity to referee a swimming competition within the school. And I asked her, oh, so you swim? But then she responded, I don't swim. So this got me thinking, because number 1, she's only but a first year, less than 3 weeks old in the institution. Secondly, she does not swim. How did she get this job opportunity to referee this game? Are there not many other third years, fourth years, second years? So I asked her, how did you get these? And she told me 4 words, which to me remain to be powerful weapons in communication. And this is what she told me. She told me, I speak to everyone. In other words, I communicate to everyone. And if maybe I may add something, I communicate effectively to everyone. So opportunities are as they come out of effective communication. If you can communicate effectively, even without the qualifications, the opportunities will get. Because this lady, number 1, she does not know how to swim, but she got that opportunity. There are many others who know how to swim, but there are many others who have been in the institution for long enough, but they never had the opportunity simply because they could not communicate effectively. And that's why anytime you communicate, make sure, for instance, if you noted, as I was introducing myself, I talked about what I do.
Yeah, true.
We don't know who is watching. There's someone who is watching, and maybe he will in one
Get
time need my
interested.
services.
Yeah.
That's why the language of vision comes in. When you speak to people, even with your friends, let them know, because it is too sad that at times you will sit down, maybe Maureen, you have friends, and one of them knows someone who needs your services, but you've never spoken out of what
So
you
they
do.
even don't know what you do.
When you hang out, you just talking about the latest movie you watched, just the basic things. But then this person knows other people who know what you are doing. So because there's this man of God who says all blessings come from God through men.
It is true.
All blessings, they pass through a man. God, when God maybe wants to give you money, he will not drop it down. He will link you to a certain person, or maybe will link you to an opportunity. Then you get it. So you see, communication is very essential. So with communication, I believe that's where even opportunities, you'll get them from.
Yeah. I once had someone say, if you're not vocal, you remain to be local. Absolutely. Now, we just mentioned one challenge, and you said pride can be an obstacle to effective communication. Maybe we can look at more other challenges of effective communication.
So when it comes to effective communication, especially, let me base it on the young people. One of the things that hinders effective communication among the young people is the aspect of listening. You know, now we are, for example, let me use just an example of one of the social media platforms, something like TikTok. When you see something like TikTok, this is something that why it has become popular over time. It's because of the the length of the videos.
Very short.
Very short. So there's a way in which patience is being killed. You can watch a video, if you're not satisfied, you just flip. And there are varieties. If you want to laugh, I remember there are times when I felt, because my algorithm maybe is bringing me someone, and I feel like just if you need to laugh, so I just scroll all through until I reach a point, and then the algorithm also changes with that. So you can see there's a way in which the patience is being killed. So there's a way in which in communication, young people, they lack the patience. They cannot take time to listen to someone. That's why now the aspect of, even before someone finishes talking, you already want to respond. You cannot stay and listen, what does this person have to say? So you find people miss out on that. The other thing is digital media. With the digital media, you know, now you can communicate via phone call, SMS. It has in a great way hindered the face-to-face conversation, where, for instance, you find someone, you cannot read the verbal cues of someone. You cannot there's someone you can effectively communicate with using the phone. But when you meet one-on-one, this person falls short of words, because this person, they are used to only phone. So the social skills, they don't have the social skills at all. So those are some of the key things that hinder communication among the young people, I believe.
Now that you've mentioned about technology, social media, we've had people communicate through text. We have even at home, children and parents are communicating through SMSs, and these are people we expect them to lead. And I believe a leader is someone who is able to effectively communicate. But this is a young person who is so much into technology, as you have said. They don't have the art of patience and active listening. So for them, it is things have to move faster. And how has that affected them positioning themselves for opportunities now, because they are not able to communicate effectively?
So what happens? Most of the opportunities that we acquire, it is out of communicating. You can find, Maureen, that you are skilled, you are highly skilled, and I am not skilled. But simply because I can communicate, I'll be, maybe we've met with a CEO, and I tell the CEO I speak, maybe I'm not good at that thing, but because I know how to speak, I convince him. I tell him, this is what I do, I've done it here and here. And the CEO is like, wow.
Because even the confidence that you're putting on.
Exactly. So you find you are chosen at the expense of the other person who is highly skilled. So many young people, they are missing out on opportunities because they cannot speak. The other thing I was realizing, this we cannot dispute. Most of the people with money and opportunities, they are from Generation X. They are the people in the older generations. So the millennials and Generation Z, they are dependent on these people. But not today, there is too much use of slang, unofficial language. And mind you, these people in Generation X, the way in which they have grown in a place where it is only about, you know, they've grown where education is highly valued.
Everything is done officially.
Exactly. So they want things done in an official manner. But this young person cannot express themselves officially. Niaje buda, mi bedhe neza fanya hii, ikifika ni graffiti mi neza piga fiti. So this guy number one begins interpreting you as maybe a criminal and such.
Not serious.
So I agree that there's nothing bad with using slang or the local language. But now where the problem comes in is that we must look at things. Opportunities, we are not there. Okay, there are people who are emerging, young people with opportunities, but it is not us who are having the highest percentage. 70% of the CEOs, they are older guys. 70% of the leaders, they are older guys. So they are the people who will give you the license into the opportunities. So we have to learn a way in which we can communicate with them in an official manner. And communication is not just about the words, even the way we dress. For instance, if I'm to meet an older person, I cannot go with a ragged and
that's true.
I must
you are dressed how you are dressed.
Sure. And before they hear you, they first see you.
It is true.
So you'll find maybe even before, sometimes I've gone to places, I've dressed in a suit, maybe I'm not comfortable with it, but I have to. But then you hear people saying like, I love how you're dressed. And in fact, others, they even give you a role simply because of how you are dressed. Can you go and get me from my car, this and this? They have already trusted you simply because of how you dressed. Even when an opportunity comes by, they'll give you that opportunity simply because of how you are dressed. So at times, you don't do what you want, but you have to align yourself to opportunities, because yes, there are opportunities, but are you aligned to them? I saw sometimes back, I saw a young man who had refused to, you know, he wanted an opportunity as an advocate. He had studied the law school, but then the way in which he had the piercings and everything, so it was being kabisa. So the parent anamwambia, si ujaribu tu kutoa hizi, uende tu upate hiyo opportunity, then uingie bar school tumalizane. But this guy refused completely.
But you know, currently young people, they say it's not about how they look, it's about what they have in the brain.
But now the problem is, because that's true, most of them they say that, but shida inakuwa the people with opportunities, because number one, you must access them. How will you get their heart? So hata ukiendelea hivyo, will you eat that dressing? So sometimes before you get to the position where now you have your own resources, you have to play with you have to dance to the music of the guys with those opportunities. If they want you like this, you just humble down and get it. Now when you get to such points, now you can change the language, because I believe in the near future things are changing. A time is coming when people will not judge you based on how you are dressing. It is based on how you can deliver. But before that time comes, we just do as
if
the things are
now. If we go to
now.
Rome, we do what the Romans
exactly
do.
That's it.
That is awesome. Now, you've just mentioned about that, and I'm realizing we're in a place where Gen Zs, they are quitting jobs because they are not able to express themselves. So you get in a workplace situation, and maybe something happens with the leader, but this person opts to quit, and like sitting down and negotiating with the issue that is on the table. So they opt to quit. Why is this happening?
So I believe it is because of, it comes back to effective communication.
They're not able to speak themselves.
They're not able to express themselves. So you find there's something wrong happening somewhere. But a young person cannot stand out and speak all the things. Sometimes it is also due to fear. Maybe you're fearing, when I speak out, what will happen? So I think also that is now the space where confidence comes in. Because there are some people whose confidence was killed from a young age. The parent kept on telling the child, usifanye hivi, usifanye hivi. So the child was like, there's nothing I can do. Maybe mtoto alikuwa anajaribu kushuka kutoka kwa kiti, anaanguka chini, anachapwa. This child was only trying to do something. So he is like, I'm not going to try anything. So unapata there are some people whose confidence was killed long way. So unapata mtu confidence yake hana. So the moment ako hapo, ana realize yenye things are not good, maybe my rights is not being respected. And even ukiangalia the job maybe description na nini, sometimes ako subjected to what is against that, but hawezi communicate. But I believe a time is coming, because communication is a skill and it is something that is learnable. So a time has come when we as young people, we have to begin educating ourselves. Maybe let me use myself as an example. There are times that I used to have issues with relating with people, socializing with people. So in most cases I used to, maybe nimeenda nimepeana speech, but I'm like, nataka nitoke mbio mbio because I don't know how am I supposed to speak to these people. But I realized if I'm to become a leader, then that is detrimental.
That is true.
So one of the things I had to begin doing with the help of my mentors, I now began embracing. For instance, when I go to places nowadays, I try to gather 3, 4 or 5 people whom I go with. So initially I used to be like, na feel hapa, maybe how will I communicate with these people, tutaongea nini now, na pia then there's that accountability aspect. You don't want to be accountable of anyone. But then now I had to break that and begin embracing. So change is something that is inevitable. So as young people, we need to come to a point where we admit I'm weak in communication. So what? Let me begin now exposing myself into learning communication, maybe mentors, listening to podcasts, listening to, because today we have a lot of opportunities of studying, and in fact they are free opportunities.
It's true. Wow. Our view, we cannot exhaust this. This is a very eye-opening conversation, and I'm loving that I'm learning a lot when it comes to effective communication. So my viewer, we are going to take a very short break. We'll be right back. Keep it here at PrayerCaveTV. Welcome back, our viewer. Thank you so much for always tuning in and keeping it here at PrayerCaveTV. This is your favorite spot, the Youth Nation show, and here is a place we come and discuss issues that are affecting the young people. Na hapa ndio watu tunasema tuna try to look for solution or ways that we are going to help the young people navigate through these issues. And today we are talking matters communication, and not just communication, but effective communication. And as we have learned from our guest today, he has told us the stages of effective communication, whereby it starts from conceptualizing what is this that you want to communicate, and there's the level of encoding the message, there's the decoding, and finally having the feedback. And we have seen where communication sometimes breaks because maybe we are not decoding the right information, and therefore we end up giving back the wrong feedback. And we have learned so much, even how communication breakdowns happen because of social media and all other things, and we are going to get to learn more. So get your paper and pen even as we get to continue with our conversation tonight. We've just mentioned a few of the challenges, and we know when it comes to social media, there's so much we can demystify when it comes to handling social media in terms of effective communication. But again, maybe we can look at the challenge where young people wamesahau where do we put a boundary when it comes to social media? Do we even have privacy now, or we just communicate everything and anything about ourselves? Where do we draw the line?
Okay, yeah, in that area it is evident that young people today, they don't have limits to how far they can go with what they are sharing in the social media. And there are some factors that leads to them just sharing things. And number one, it could be comparison. Maybe someone saw a fellow friend doing something and they, after, I also have to do the same.
Show it off.
Yeah, or rather, I've just seen my former classmate driving. I must also do the same. So you even find someone borrowing a car, and
Just
then
for a
photo, then you post. And also some people, they faking a lot. They fake a lot. So one of the things that causes people to share, overshare what they are supposed to share, is because of comparison. The other thing is because of let me say emotional weakness, or rather lack of emotional intelligence. Someone is undergoing something, and the only way they can, and you'll realize if you are keen enough. Sometimes I do this, when you check the status of people, there's a time you'll look at this status and know this person is not okay. You will see some songs, you will see some quotes, you realize this person is not okay. And at times you'll realize something is not okay. So sometimes it is because of there's that emotional weakness, or rather lack of emotional intelligence. So what I may tell the young people is that anytime before you share anything, it is good to have the boundaries. And this is whether you feel okay or not okay. Because Maureen, imagine I'm feeling, maybe I'm having suicidal thoughts. Why should I communicate it maybe in my status or in the social well, maybe I have my church pastor, I have friends whom I can trust, I have my parents, I have my brothers. Those are the people who can reach me. You see, when someone goes on and shares that maybe in those platforms, social platforms, people may begin commenting. That's where now the thing to do with cyberbullying comes in. Yeah, and also that online, they are being tormented online. So you find these people, that bad feeling continues rather than being cut short. So anytime, it is good to have limits to what you are sharing, whether you are feeling good or not. Just take time and think, is it right to share this? And it takes us back to the first stage, conceptualizing the idea. What does it mean doing this? Will it help at any time? And also sometimes we tend to share everything, our successes, every bit. When you sleep, you share, I slept today. When you do this, and that's why today you'll see, you'll see even today there is a lot of people sharing their lifestyle. And people have to fake. People are faking because they want to show a certain lifestyle that they don't live. I've also seen some places where maybe someone pretends to have bought a car. Later on, it is realized this car was not truly bought. So people are trying to fake a lot of things. And one question I ask is, why fake what can be real? So that aspect of faking, you find people, they are trying to post who they are not. And also the other thing I can tell the young people is that you should have limits because sometimes there's a story told of this young man. He was from Tanzania. He graduated with one of the best courses, which is in demand. So this young man graduated, and he actually graduated with first class honors, upper class. So number one, this is a course being demanded. Number two, this guy has performed exemplary. He's done well. So it was expected that immediately after graduation, this guy will in fact be struggling on where to go. Should I go to this institution?
Because so many opportunities lined up.
But do you know, after the graduation, this guy stayed 3 years. The first year, the second year is just stomaching. The third year, no job. And later on, during the third year, that's where he decided, let me seek help. This is something spiritual, because this is not normal. My friends who in fact graduated with even some lower performance in the same course, they already have jobs. They're enjoying. Mine, when I get this job, they say this and this has happened. There have been some changes. So it was like something is not okay here. And this is something spiritual. So he approached one of the spiritual leaders. The guy prayed for him. And later on, he went home and he began praying. So let me take you back. During the graduation, there's this aunt who was a photographer. So this aunt took a photo of that young man and went and took that photo. He placed it on a frame and later on brought the young man. So this young man was happy with this because in fact it was the best photo of all that was taken there. So he took that photo, and in the focal point of his house, that is where he placed the photo. So while he was praying at home, that is 3 years later, he was praying because no job. There was something like a wind, and it so happened that the photo fell down and it cracked. So he was sad. He was like, this photo, my best photo, has cracked. But he decided, let me take the picture itself, then maybe later on I can try fix it. But when he took it, there's something shocking that he saw. He happened to realize that behind that photo, it was written, you will never find a job. So all this year was struggling. It's because of a foundation that was laid somewhere. And this is someone very close, an auntie. So later on, that's when he realized, so this year, the problem is they dealt with that foundation, and some months later, he had a job, and a good one for that matter. So meaning that the hindrance was what this person had done to them. So you can tell this is someone close to this young man. But jealousy led to, slaying of the foundations were killed. So you see, young people, they don't have limits to what they can share. They are sharing anything, any small achievement you've already shared. You've not even prayed for it. And spiritual, these things are always spiritual. People begin, visiting the witchcrafts just to bring you down. You have no spiritual backing. You find yourself umeanguka tu.
It's funny, and maybe you just posted something that is fake.
Exactly.
Oh my God, very unfortunate. Wow. Now, but again, still, there's this issue of, you mentioned cyberbullying and harassment online. Is it a way of people communicating, or why does it happen? What form of communication is that?
So we can say that unfortunately it's too sad to have people who cyberbull others or harass others online. And there are many of them. You will realize in every comment section of any video, there's that one person who, you know, you visited, the comments are good, but there's that one person comments something bad. You'll find there's that one person posting something bad about. So it is too unfortunate that we have this. It is not something that is supposed to be there, because this is trying to kill the other person. For instance, I've seen a scenario where this young man who was sometimes back, he was not a good guy, but later on he changed, and he became someone in the limelight. But unfortunately, during his old days, he was not a good person. And there's some photos he had taken with some ladies. Some are very dirty photos. So someone goes on, this person has changed, he's a good guy, he's achieving his career. In fact, he was fighting for some political seat. Then later on, this person pulls back. The social media never forgets. He pulls back the photo, brings it back, and begins spreading. Trending. He begins spreading the fake news. Oh, he got pregnant with this and this. So the reputation of this person is being killed. And that's why you find young people, they end up in depression. A person dies in depression simply because there's maybe a photo. And you know, there's Nelson Mandela says, no one is a saint, not unless you define a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying. So there's someone else who says everyone is dirty, just that the spot is different. So at some point in life, there's a point where maybe you never made the right decision, but that does not mean you are in the same way. You are transformed later on. But now you find people whose intention is to, you know, destroy their reputation. They bring such things back. That is a form of cyberbullying.
And again, do you think these people are trying to communicate what they feel, you know, or communicating the emotions of what they are going through that particular time? Because I'm trying to figure out, you can't just sit there, take your phone and just decide, you know, you want to harass this person or bully that person. I'm trying to figure out that being a communication of maybe what is happening within them. What do you think?
In most cases, these people, when you do a research, there's one of the guys who was trolling the other person, and when he was found, he was arraigned in court, and it was realized that this person was having his own issues. Majority of them, they have an issue that they have not solved. So they are expressing that bitterness in other people. That's why you'll post something innocently, something very good,
and
but
someone
then
will just try
something very evil. People will begin spreading propagandas. So some people, they just do it intentionally. Others, it is because of jealousy, and others, it is because they have a pain that they are yet to deal with. So you find that the way they will deal with that is by maybe trying to bring other people down. But most importantly, what I can say is that that's why we need to have circles of people who can stand with us. And that's why it is also good to have our identity rooted in the word of God, in Christ. Because if you are defined by what people say, then you'll be killed, especially in this social media. That's why you see people, they have been trolled, and they even decide, let me get out of the limelight because people say this and this about them. So it is essential for young people to have to find their identity in Christ. So that if today I call you a name, you know very well that is not the definition of who I am. So you will not be affected by what people say. When someone comments something evil, you will not be defined by that. You know, in our bodies, there's a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is a feel-good hormone. It is the brain rewarding hormone. When, for example, something good happens to you, you tend to feel good. Or maybe when I tell you you look good, that is a compliment. You're like, wow, I look good. There's that hormone that is stimulated in a person. So many people, they depend on the public approval. What are people saying? What are people saying about me? That's why they'll keep on reviewing the comment section. What are people saying? People are not communicating, and people end up in depression and such. When the cyberbullying happens, many suicidal cases, there are many people who kill themselves day in, day out because of cyberbullying and the online harassment. So it is good for young people, we find our identity in Christ. What is the Bible saying for us? How is the Bible? We are the children of God. He who is in us is greater than he who is in the world.
It is true.
What is defining you as a young person? So it's good for we to go back and root ourselves in the word of God.
And get to understand our identity. Being in this conversation of technology, social media, even as we had mentioned earlier, we now love texting, calling, other than our face-to-face communication. Maybe you can tell us what is the importance of having a face-to-face communication?
Well, face-to-face communication is essential. And number one, just to begin with, when you communicate with a person face-to-face, there's that in-depth in the conversation. Unlike when you communicate via phone, that's when you find people, there's that empathy. I can feel what you are saying, and you can pour out your heart. So when you communicate via phone, there's some things you'll try to hide. But when you are communicating one-on-one, that's where you pour your heart, you speak out. And if there is help that is needed, that's where you will receive the help. The other thing with face-to-face, in a big way, you can imagine maybe we are talking via phone. I can be doing something else, and I'm not hearing you clearly. There are all distractions. Something has just passed. I'm there looking at it. But then now when I'm sitting there, we are communicating face to face, there's a probability that I'll give my attention, full attention to you without any form of distraction. The other thing with face to face, it develops your social skills. When we are communicating, you develop socially. And that's why when it comes now to developing the face to face, building up in it, it is essential to be engaging in things like the social events. You go to events, you engage in small group. Last time I remember when you were addressing the levels of communication, the third level was the small group conversation. So it is good you engage in a small group where maybe when you are in the bed and you don't feel like going out, this person can call you, hey bro, uko wapi? Sikuoni. Hey, and then you are, because of that accountability, unasema tu, let me get out. Because you know the devil, what the devil does, the devil waits for such a moment when you are alone. Then that's why I was trying to reflect on this Bible verse of God leaving the 99 and going for that one. It is very easy for that one to be struck by the enemy as compared to this 99. There's that strength that comes with unity. So what the devil does, he separates you. Unafeel your day, leo stoki kejani, nimechoka. You decide to relax there. That's when now, that's where the devil now begins bringing you. Remember David? It is only when he was left alone, anafaa kuwa pale kwa battle, but then he decided, let me remain. Akichill tu uko juu, that's when he spotted Bathsheba, and later on he fell. So face-to-face conversation is very instrumental. It even helps in the accountability.
It is true, but there's someone who is saying, but I'm an introvert. I'm introverted.
I believe there's a space in which, okay, we have the introverts. That's something I believe. But also, maybe it also depends on what is our definition of an introvert. What is our definition of an introvert? There's some people who will say, mimi sipendi kuongea na watu. And sometimes it is also a form of pride. To some, okay, some I understand they are naturally the kind of people they cannot get to the limelight. But also there are some people wenye asiongeangi na watu. Mimi, you know those people wenye ukiwaambia kitu ana, as in they are like, ama unamwambia this person anaimbanga vizuri, let him, mimi siimbangi. You know, it's a form of pride. You know, come on, get out there and sing. So in the same way, there are some people who, that is a form of pride. Maybe wanaoneo kuassociate na say it's a waste of time. Let me be here. And also others, okay, I'm trying to look at that introvert because sometimes it is used as an excuse. Mse atasema mimi ni introvert. But in real sense, this guy prefers to be in the social media. I watch the TikTok videos. Ajibambe there. I communicate via phone. I chat at the expense of talking in. There's a guy alikuwa anabonga tukiwa shule. Alikuwa kwa group anaongea sana. So tumekutana physically, I'm like, this guy atatusaidia kwa group. This guy kwa group alikuwa anapiga kelele, anasumbua watu in the WhatsApp group. Let it come now to physically. Umsi alikuwa amenyamaza, hata unaona ana tense. Hadi mnajiuliza, no, this is not the person alikuwa kwa group. Ni yule alikuwa anatusumbua. So you see such kind of a thing. So there are some people who they fear facing that reality. Hiyo kuface wase. And sometimes it is because maybe of childhood incidences. Kuna msee maybe alikuanga alipitia trauma. So ako like, I need to have my own space. But also to those wenye wana find it difficult in real sense sasa, wana find it difficult to interact with other people. It is advisable that you just try to have the people whom you can, because I'm sure there's a level of connections. There's interpersonal communication, relationship. There's a level of relationship in which you cannot there's nothing, because imagine if we are friends, there's nothing I have to fear about you.
Sure.
We can talk freely, we can do anything freely. So it is essential to develop the interpersonal relationships.
Awesome. I believe with face-to-face communication, there's a way I'll get to learn your body language, your facial expression, the non-verbal cues, you know. I'll be able to pick such kind of thing, and maybe to know what is the importance of understanding the body language.
I believe the body language plays an instrumental role in communicating, because you can imagine, because number one, it reinforces information, and also there's a part, in fact, people say that the largest part of communication is the non-verbal cues. And in non-verbal cues, there's the smiling, the facial expression, the gesture, and the body posture. It communicates a lot. Imagine now you are maybe in a lecture room, or rather in a meeting, and you are leaning back. It shows that you are not listening, you are not interested. Contrast that to a person who is leaning forward. It shows this person is interested. Is interested in what I'm saying. So this person will even be stimulated to speak even more. Secondly, maybe imagine if I tell you, Maureen, you're very wise, and I'm doing this way. Maureen, you're very wise.
But you're punching my brain.
Maureen, you're very wise. What does, in real sense and meaning, it's like a criticism. In real sense, what I'm saying is, you see, such a thing. So body language is very instrumental in communicating, and that's why it's good to read body language. Sometimes there's a way in which we can be communicating, and I know I think something is wrong. You don't have to tell me, but I'll feel something is wrong. The way maybe your face is, the way you are moving. So body language plays an instrumental role, and you can find sometimes the body language shouts even louder than your words. That's why I said, before people hear you, they'll first see you. You first communicate with your body language.
Maybe we can just advise a young person who is watching us tonight the importance of developing the right body language, because I believe most of us, we might be meaning well, but the kind of vibe we are giving by our posture, our body language, communicates differently. Kindly just maybe inform us the importance of
So to any young person, body language plays an instrumental role, especially if you're a young person. When in the Bible, Christ says, let the go and lose the older colt and the younger colt. That is the older donkey and the younger donkey. Meaning there's a responsibility, that there's that unison between the older generation and the younger generation. And as young people, we need to learn from the older generation. And sometimes when you're learning from them, what speaks out, because at such cases, you are quiet and the person is speaking. So what speaks out for you at that moment is your body language. So whenever you are speaking to anyone, try to look at your body language. Sometimes when you're in a meeting, are you leaning backward or are you leaning in front? Are you swaying with the chair or are you attentive listening? It passes a lot of message. To you, maybe you may be interested in the conversation, but then your body posture makes this person feel like, I think this person is not interested. Let me not even share out a lot. Sometimes nod to what someone is saying, smile where necessary. So let's develop body language, especially in mentorship and in any other aspect. It helps a lot.
Awesome. And now I think and I believe there might be a misunderstanding in that kind of a situation where maybe your body is communicating differently from maybe what you're communicating, really communicating, and now having these conflicts, what is the best way to communicate to settle down conflict and misunderstanding? Because I believe that is everything rises and falls on communication.
So when it comes to solving conflicts, either between it's in a personal relationship or in a group relationship, there are various structures which we can use. And one of the things that I advise is developing an open and honest communication. If, for instance, we know we are not right with each other, I don't have to keep quiet for you. It is adding up nothing. So let's come to a point where we can have the open and honest conversation.
Yeah,
in
true.
fact, in itself, it's a sign of maturity. Just by the fact that you can agree things are not right,
Yeah.
we need to have this conversation. So I believe that is the first step. Then the second thing, I usually say, admit where you know you are wrong. You don't have to be, you know very well, just be responsible. You know very well you missed out here. Take charge of the missing out. Try and look, okay, I missed out here and I accept, and this is what I'm ready to do at the expense of this. Then when you are solving this conversation, there are two mentalities that you can have. Number one, it could be win to win mentality, or win to lose mentality. But mind you, we are trying to solve this, so we ought to develop a win to win, where you will be satisfied and I will be satisfied. And how will this be possible? By being ready to compromise, where you know, maybe here I'll have to compromise and this person will have to compromise. We come at a common level. For instance, I can give an example. Maybe during the 2007 violence, there are thousands and thousands of lives that were killed. There are many people who were breadwinners. Economy was destroyed. A lot of resources was lost. The country was destroyed. Money that would have otherwise been used to build the nation was diverted into, you know, catering for something that will have been sorted out. And now, what happened? They brought in a third party, that is Kofi Annan, who came to help solve the conflict. And what happened in this meeting, because it was His Excellency Raila and His Excellency by then Moi Kibaki, they had to sit down. Both parties, they had to share their views. You share your view, what you think, what you feel the other party did to you, and there was no interruption. Sometimes when you are sharing, maybe you're saying this is where you hurted me, the other person has already jumped in.
It is true.
No.
There's a breakdown of communicating.
There's no active listening. So you should be listen actively. Pour out your heart. You finished. Okay, let me now pour out my heart. Then after that, now we can come into a common agreement.
Common ground.
Now you come up into the same agreement.
Awesome.
But most importantly, admit where you feel you are wrong. Take up.
That is where it all starts, by admitting that you're wrong. Wow, this conversation cannot end tonight. There's so much that we can learn, but maybe even as we come to a close, maybe you can advise someone who is watching us tonight, a parent maybe, or a leader, why is it important for them to encourage the young people around them to be effective communicators?
Okay. So to anyone, either the parents or even you young people yourselves, any leader, effective communication is a very important tool. Opportunities are not given to people who have the highest of qualifications. It is given to people who can communicate effectively. You will go in a job interview, you will be interviewed. How you will communicate in that interview is what will determine whether you will get that opportunity or not. So communication is essential. And I have a good message for anyone there who is struggling or wondering, how can I learn communication? One thing that I believe, communication is something that is learnable. It is something that if you are after getting it, you will get it. And there's someone who said, how you are trained is how you will fight. So this is your period of training. I'll give you an example. David was in the wilderness. I believe the same way David fought with Goliath, it was not something new. The same tactics he used there is the tactics that he used in the wilderness to kill the bear and the lion. So how you are trained in the secret place, in the wilderness, is how you will fight even in public. This is your period. This is your moment. Train yourself on communication. Learn what needs to be learned. Begin engaging in small group conversations, small group meetings, be it the Bible study meetings, be it any meeting that is of benefit and that is good. Engage in them. But one thing that I guarantee you, ensure that today you'll be better than yesterday. It is a step at a time, but eventually you will get there. Desmond Tutu says, the only way to eat an elephant is a bite at a time. Begin taking that bite and eventually you'll bring that elephant down. Thank you.
Wow. What a wonderful way to end our conversation tonight. Even as he has said, you fight how you train, and if you're taking down an elephant, it's bite by bite. So until next Saturday, keep it here at Prayer Cave TV, and I've been your host, Maureen Boyani.